I'm currently standing in front of the Al Noor Mosque, where on the 15th of March of this year, a gunman walked up these steps during Friday prayer and shot down 42 people. He then got in his car and continued on to the Linwood Mosque, where another 7 people were shot. 2 more people died in hospital following their injuries, and on that day, Jordan Oppett was a journalist, among many others covering this crisis. And we got to sit down with her and get a take on what it was like to be the media that day, what it was like to be a journalist.
Breaking news after reports of a shooting in central Christchurch this afternoon.
Your streets are washed and your hearts are aching.
Midday special on the mine explosion that's trapped 29 miners.
This is and will be one of New Zealand's darkest days.
Speaking with Jordan Oppett, who covered the attacks for One News, there is a strong sense of value behind the role a journalist has to play during a crisis. The whole world stood still and watched as the events of March 15th took place.
Look, if I'm honest, I don't think the shock has quite hit me, and that's, 7 months on, because I think when it first happens, you've got a job to do, so you don't think so much about the event. I was just thinking more about what I had to get the information out. And so at the time, we were straight into live crosses, so we were like full on around the clock, doing as many crosses as we could. So yeah, if I'm honest, the shock I don't think has still hit me yet, because you have a job to do at the end of the day, and so you're quite focused on something. Yeah, I don't think it's quite sunk in just the scale of what happened.
Focusing on the task at hand often blocks the initial shock for a journalist.
Kia ora, good afternoon. We're interrupting normal programming with some breaking news after reports of a shooting in central Christchurch this afternoon.
Yeah, so I guess as soon as we found out, it was everywhere on social media. You could hear the cop cars screaming. I mean, the Justice Precinct's only a couple of blocks from where we are, so you could hear it all. You could hear the helicopters up in the air, so we all just left. It wasn't until we found out that there had been a second shooting that I then went to Linwood Mosque, and that's where I spent the rest of my time.
Jordan Oppett is there in Linwood. Take us through what unfolded there, Jordan.
Yeah, well, not long after the Dean's Ave shooting, another shooting happened here, Simon. And that's where I spent, the next 10 days doing live crosses.
Differentiating from fact or fiction is where journalists can help.
Yeah, I suppose it's still important because you need to establish fact. I mean, every day we all see things on Facebook that people have posted, and it's up to a journalist to stack that up and see if that's actually true. So without having a journalist down there or at the scene who can actually have some authority and speak to the authorities, so your police, your feds, or whoever it may be, I feel like journalists have a really big job, because we get sent in at TV New Zealand videos and clips all the time, and you've got to establish whether that is fact or if that's someone just having a bit of a laugh. Yeah, I think I am quite proud of my achievements on that day, purely because I hadn't long been in the 6 o'clock news. I'd been on Breakfast before that, and anyone who watched Breakfast would have seen that I was quite a goofy, out there sort of personality, and I never expected that this would happen ever in my lifetime here in New Zealand. No, to have a terrorist attack, it's not what we ever thought. And so, yeah, I'm quite proud of the way that I managed to get that out that night.
You've just heard from Jordan Oppett about what it was like to be the media during the Christchurch mosque attacks. And that brings our 3-part web series documentary to a close. We've heard from Lisa Davies about what it was like for her coverage at the Pike River mine tragedy. We've heard from Steve Bloxham about what it was like during the Christchurch earthquakes. And I hope that from these 3 episodes you've been able to grasp an understanding of what it's like to be on the other end of the television screen. For now, this is The Media, a decade in disaster. I'm Digby Worthmiller.